noise in the background. Some stuff going on.
I got kids. I got young kids, man. It's spring break.
No doubt. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I am your host, A.D. Walker, the Poocher, the Grower, the Motivator. Below me, we got Pastor Brian A. McCrory, Sr. in the building. And you know, it's Mental Health Wednesday. Hold on. Always. There you go. Change the focus. To change on me. There we go. And now below me is none other than Matt Jeanius in the building. So we appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with us another edition. Good times, good times. Quick news story. You know, everybody watching Trump, so we can pass over that. We already know what's going on with that. I was watching something. D.L. Hughley put something up about the dollar. People pulling out from the dollar and trying to make their country or go after, like, they're divesting from the dollar, and I guess they're gonna choose another. It's just headlines, because what I do, like, you see a headline, I used to take it and kind of run with it, but then I'll start looking up. You can check where the dollar is as far as what the dollar's worth in different countries. All right, follow me. So I looked it up, and a lot of times, we know economics, at least here in the U.S. I'll say that because it's all in economics. I know. It's all our balance from stocks to our dollars. A lot of speculation, emotional ups and downs. People get nervous, they start pulling their money and things of that nature. So I was looking at the dollar, and it's pretty strong in everybody's country. I think we're less than with like 81 cents, not 81, sorry, about 91 cents to the euro. But everywhere else, like, because I feel like sometimes it's like a propaganda. We talked about programming before we started, to kind of get you to look at things differently. The dollar's weak, and news reports and things like that. But if you look at the actual chart, like the facts, like what's actually going on, we're still looking strong, if that makes sense. Things take time to roll down the hill, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I say all that. Sometimes you just gotta dig into the stories that you see and read. Sometimes we're too quick to take a post as a truth, like right now. Oh my gosh, we're crumbling. So that's just my my take a moment to think about what you're looking at, what you're reading, do a little research into it. That's all. I know that was kind of my thought when I was thinking about that story. Because sometimes we run with things that aren't necessarily true, just something to kind of be aware of, but don't take a post as fact, if that makes sense. Because there's, you do the research, because you look at the real numbers, what's really happening. This is what's really happening. This is what they're saying. All right, it's a little subliminal. Think about that. All right, so again, welcome to the Brothers of Legacy. And it's funny, indoctrination programming. I always wonder, right? I know this is off the beaten path. I in other countries, a lot of countries have traffic signals, driving and things like that. But in countries like Mexico, and I know for a fact that I've had conversations, like traffic signals and things like that are like a suggestion. They're not necessarily, they are the law, but they're like a suggestion. Like, because I told one lady, I was like, okay, so if I was in Mexico, I stopped at the red light. She said, well, what happened? People pretty much would just go around me. He said, oh, they'll just go around you. I was like, so, but here, like, I always wonder, right? Like, how did we get to a space where we follow the law like that? You see a red light, middle of the night, nobody around, you're gonna stop for a minute. You'll sit there, unless the light is like super long, you're gonna stop. I think I do. I'm gonna say for me. You stop. You feel what I'm saying? Like, no cops around, nobody, you don't feel like nobody's watching, but you stop. And I'm like, I know we're not better, and I know this is kind of like a weird conversation to start off, but I just wonder, like, what makes us different? What makes our mindset different? What did they what did they do to us that other countries aren't getting the same information to have those same kind of rules or laws and things of that nature? I always wonder that. I don't know. You guys may have an answer like, hey, it's simple. It's whatever. But I always just wonder that. Like, I think India is another country like that.
Like what do you mean?
So I'm going more or less just the simple stuff like driving. They have stoplights. People don't, stopping at a stoplight is more of a suggestion and think
in another country.
In another country, yeah. Whereas here, we pretty much we stop more than we blow through it. More you'll see more people stop. May see like somebody blow through it, probably that's in front of you, like the last minute, take that chance. But for the most part, we stop. And like I said, in the middle of the night, nobody around, you stopping at the light. Clearly, you can probably run it without an issue. But we stop. So I just simple stuff like that. I just wonder what made us different. What made us different?
Lawsuits?
Possibly. Right.
Yeah. Untimely deaths.
Right.
How many lawsuits are filed overseas in other countries? You see people fighting in court over fender benders. You hit my car, you ran into me.
Right. Yeah.
Most of that stuff is settled on the street.
Right then and there. That'll be $250. All right, man. Let me see what I got for you, man.
I got 150. I got 100.
Man, you make some great points, man. But you called it out earlier.
Yeah.
It is a level of our consciousness being shaped into the type of citizens we become.
Right.
Rules are there for you from pre-kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You go to any elementary school, child care center. Everybody knows what the rules are. They're right there.
Right.
What's rule number one? Right. What's rule number one?
No talking.
Yeah, and so it's great programming. It's great programming that subconsciously causes you to stop at a red light when no one's there.
Right.
So
right.
It's in you. It's in all of us. So,
right.
Yeah, it's that. I was in Haiti 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was telling my brother that you have to have another type of sense, not the 5 senses we have here. It's another level of consciousness to drive in a foreign country sometimes. They drive based on a level of like spider senses,
Okay.
And listen, this is not, for the faint of heart. You go there without that consciousness, you will kill yourself.
Wow.
You will kill. Listen, they drive on cliffs, on the edge of cliffs, they're driving on motorcycle, they have mopeds, they have all these things and no stoplights.
Right.
And how many accidents? Probably like 2 or 3 every, but they manage. Everybody's just cutting, zipping through, going around, and it's common. It's normal. Nobody's creating extra stress from those experiences. They have to get to one space. They have to get to another. But let us drive in those conditions. We'd lose our minds.
Right.
Because it doesn't adhere to our level of programming, meaning I have to stop at this street, and then I got to go another street and stop. Then I got to go another street and stop.
Right.
And I got to go another street and stop, And so them is just go. And so, yeah, it's a different level of consciousness that sometimes they have, and that we may think we're at an advantage and they're at the disadvantage. But I think, that level of consciousness can be seen in other aspects of their lives as well. You have to have
there's a sense of freedom.
There you go. You have to have that type of interaction living in specific spaces. This is a joke I have. There's a spider living outside my parents' house in Haiti, right? Right outside the door, and every time I go there, I'm like, hey, ain't nobody gonna say nothing about that right there.
Ain't nobody gonna
So nobody's gonna say nothing about that little spider right there, right? And listen, the consciousness is why am I wasting my energy? This spider's not bothering me. Listen, I came there a year and some change apart, and that spider was still there, or its seeds.
Wow. Oh, right. The family.
Wow. Charlotte's Web.
Still there. Big old looking thing just sitting there, right? And they're not bothered by it. So if me from the States, I'm like, right? That spider be like, oh, you see me, huh? Let me get some of you. Let me get some of you. And it's not that they don't see it. Their consciousness doesn't allow them to feel threatened by it. And then in the presence of you not being anxious, then the spider doesn't feel threatened and the spider doesn't have to defend itself and so forth. Different environment, different level of consciousness. We see a spider here. Everybody getting the sandals, the broom, the spray bottle. Die. Why? The spider not bother. It's going, minding its business. You know, let
the only reason I kill spiders is because I'm surrounded by females.
There you go. Same here. You know, same here. You know, I was
my
just
wife
filming.
Seen that spider, she's like, we need to go somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
You're just gonna leave that there.
Listen, I was thinking like, I cannot bring my daughters here.
Right.
They see that spider, they're gonna lose their minds.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah, they won't be able to sit. They won't be able to rest.
They won't be able to sleep. They could not fall asleep. Yeah. You know? Wow. Where's the spider? Same place it was. It's right there. It's right there.
It's just hiding in the corner right now. Look.
I had a centipede in one of my daughter's rooms. She slept with her sister for months.
Right.
I'm like, the centipede is dead.
Right. Gone.
There might be another one.
Right.
Yeah, might be. Have you seen it?
Right.
Right. And more likely than not, they're not trying to be seen. They're not trying to be bothered. They have their own story. They have their own lives to live. You know? But we think it's all about us. The spider is trying to get us. You know?
He's waiting for that moment.
Right.
But you know, it's amazing how much structure there is, or there can be, in dysfunction.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Did you have to ask yourself, you know, where, you know, you've heard about a bunch of other countries and all that, but where would you prefer to live?
Right.
It seems to me like people are fighting to get here.
Right.
For what reason? All this drama we have. Why are they fighting to get here? What is it that America has that other countries don't? Yeah, sure. You don't have to stop at the red light. However.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's good. You know? That's good. What's up, Mama Corey? Hey, Lisa. Good morning. Lisa. Good morning.
Thomas
Jeff. In the building, and Jeff in the building.
Blessings,
good morning,
guys. Blessings.
Make sure you guys sharing as we talk about spiders and traffic. Maybe I should call it
song. I don't like spiders and snakes. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think I heard that one before too.
I didn't, y'all. I didn't hear that one. Oh, okay. My bad. Look, Richard. He said, Richard's in the building. What's up, Richard? So today we're talking about, it's Mental Health Wednesday, and this kind of segues into the conversation. We're discussing preparing a more self-aware generation. To kind of be conscious, about your feelings, about what you're dealing with, and not to kind of brush it to the side and ignore it, but just to kind of take a moment and realize what's affecting you on a daily basis. So of course we got a resident therapist, Matt Jeanius, in the building to kind of break that down a little bit and kind of want to have that conversation. And I think I like 50 times per show. So
you should definitely go back and watch your show.
Right.
And then
I do.
Gather a couple people, and every time you say just throw one back for me. Throw one back. There we go.
Yeah, I'm be all messed up. Man. I'll be all messed up. After about one I'm be done. I'll be done.
And done.
And done. All right.
Listen, I think this is a great topic.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a little bit of a nerd, comic book nerd, growing up. And so this sounds a little bit sci-fi to me when you talk about, future consciousness, when you talk about creating an awareness, and a part of it is that I like to liken this to time travel. Like, how do we get there before we're actually there? How do we plant that seed for the future and then already can see the products, the fruits of our labor now 2-3 generations from now, you know? And so I say we have to go backwards first, you know, to think about the consciousness that got us to where we are right now, that sometimes we're not paying attention to, you know? And I think for me, what I have to look back at is that younger version of me, that younger version of my dad that had no awareness of where he would be or where I would be right now, you know, had no intentions in mind specifically to where he would be as my father and where I would be as his son, you know, but here we are, right? There had to be some type of alignment that we had back then that measured up to this present moment right now. And so what happens when we create a specific intentionality to be a specific place in the future whether it comes to our mental and emotional state? You know, I think that changes a lot of things for us right now to create a level of anxiety that diminish, because I have an idea in mind for a future that doesn't causes me to create a deficit, you know, or an anxious thought or anything that doesn't produce good in the future generation, you know. But it starts with us. It starts with the consciousness that we have right now about who we are, our morals, our standards, our values, you know, all those things that we know to be good for us right now. And then knowing that, listen, I'm not just planting those seeds in me, but for the people that are around me, my kids, you know, I'm putting that consciousness in their minds, but also leaving subliminal and direct messages for their future, you know. Have you ever thought about writing a letter to your grandson, you know, or creating a specific time capsule for your great grandchildren? You know, what do you want them to remember of you? How do you want them to feel when they see your picture? What type of emotions do you want to invoke in them right now? You know, you can start thinking about what you want and how you want to influence them, and then in your mind, travel there and leave that message for them. You know, it's a level of consciousness that you create right now that has that domino effect that probably won't end, you know? And so, but it starts with you. Where are you in your consciousness specifically about where you are and where you'd like to be in the future? And also, where's your consciousness about your kids right now and where you'd like for them to be in the future? And then that keeps going forward and forward and forward. And so it always has a bridge between 1, 2 generations, 3 generations.
All right. So
that say too much? Did that make sense?
You said a lot. So let's break this down. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
Let's break it down. So what do you mean by what am I leaving as far as subliminal? Like in my mind, like the, you know, for me, I speak for myself, you know, it's I have the idea of what I want my children to become, not exactly like an occupation, but just more or less fulfilled, purposeful, you know, and limit the level of regret, you know, in their life, you know, and trouble and issues, you know, they're gonna go through some stuff. You want them to learn as much as possible, and to be the most productive, most functioning, and happy. Let's keep it real. You want them to be happy. But you know, it's more than that, because the way you're speaking is like it's more than that. Not just with who they become, it's kind of what you're leaving. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So listen, I think for us, we already have an idea that our kids are going to do better than us, right? We have that idea in our mind. My kids are going to be way better than me, which is great, you know. But I think sometimes we can get there, right? When our parents see us, you know, when our parents see us, or you know, when the previous generation look at us, sometimes it breaks their heart because we are where we are, but we're not necessarily enjoying it. You know, we have all these things that we have, all this modern marvels and stuff like that, but we're just as miserable. You know, we're just as depressed, just as anxious, you know. And so our goal is to be that, yes, they're going to get there, but we want them to get there and thrive. And have a consciousness that allows them to be aware of the good that's around them. You know, there's a generation that just collects data on negativity. You know, we have this stat wall counting this, we got this, you know, how many this has happened in the past 24 hours. And, you know, that's a consciousness. That's a level of awareness that we have. But there's another level of awareness that allows you to see the good that's right there for you to see. And I think that's the level of intentionality I want to have. Meaning, yes, my kids are going to do great. They're going to go to school, they're going to get the degrees or start businesses, do all that stuff and be successful. But success isn't necessarily the things we accumulate, the monetary, it's in your mental stability, it's in your emotional stability. How many people have gained success and wealth and then, they're having suicidal ideations, or they're still dealing with depressions, or still dealing with substance use disorder, or dealing with something, So our job isn't to just get them ready for the success, but get them ready for the mental and emotional stability that will allow them to thrive in any circumstance.
Gotcha.
And so, okay, let me make an example even plain. My dad, a very religious guy. So we had worship at my father's house every morning, probably 6:30 in the morning. We're like dragging our feet, going to the living room.
Nice.
We got to grab our Bible. We got to get our study book, and we got, so he gave that to us as a legacy,
Okay.
Right. And so in my dark hours, when I was in college and high school, I remember specific verses that I can call on to allow my mental and emotional state to get stable. I had this verse in college when I used to use all the time. There's no fear in love. Perfect love casted out fear. There's no fear in love. Perfect love casted out fear. There's no fear in love. But that's a part of his legacy that he gave me to create some stability in any circumstances. What is my role in my kids' life? What am I leaving for them that will not just allow them to have the success, but some form of stable mind, stable emotion, stable spirituality that will allow them to navigate whatever terrain they're in.
Yeah.
So what I do for my son, there is this is like programming to its finest, right? I'm giving you some cheat codes, right? So I whisper to my son. He's about to be a year old this Sunday, right? And so I've been whispering in his ears since he was, out the womb. The secret is I love you. The secret is I love you. The secret is I love you. The secret is I love you has a cadence to it. That, right? Right. It has a cadence to it. I said it enough to where I can now beat on his back in that same pattern. Still the same message. It's still the same message. It still vibrates in his body the same way as me saying the words, the secret is I love you. And sometimes I whistle it. Same message, right? So that message is verbal, right? It's vibrational, right? It's emotional because I can feel his body shifting when he hears me repeat that sound in his ear. I feel him getting, like more comfortable, That's a level of consciousness that I'm creating in him to know that if he ever feels tense, the secret is he's loved. So that's an intentional programming that his father, is putting in him to allow him to find balance in any circumstance, wherever he may be in his future. That's different from where are the rules? Right there, right? What's rule number one? Raise your hand before you. Our kids are going to get those things, right? But what are we doing intentionally? They're going to stop at the stop signs, stop at the red lights. But what's going to get their minds to not be anxious, to not be, angered, to learn how to get back to a center mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We have to be intentional on what do we want them to experience as far as feelings, as far as thoughts,
Right.
And so I've told you this before, man. My music, all of the music that I make, there are letters to my kids. So if they go back and listen to them, I even wrote them down in a notebook that I'm going to give to them later on so that they can read the words for themselves. In those words are specific meanings, vibrations, emotions that I'm putting in there for them so that they can read and understand with their new understanding. Right now they may not be able to decipher all the things that I'm saying to them, but give them 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they're going to be like, whoa, Dad was spitting some bars,
Right. I mean, I think that's cool. Like I mean, especially with the age of social media, there's the unintentional things that you leave into your generation. It's funny. I told my children, I said, let me give you in on the secret. When your mom and I pass, or whoever goes first, feel free to grab our phones and you'll really know our relationship. You can really decipher like, oh, they were having a bad day this day. Okay, buy milk, chicken. Oh, okay, I love you because blah blah blah. Like you'll know, like, oh, they were having a good day this day. And it's funny just the digital trail, the digital trail we could leave our children. But I'm with you with the writing. Like I do have notebooks, but yeah, my children be able to see a lot of the ideas and things that I've implemented, things that I thought about. Like that was out there.
Are they intentional though? Are they intentional? Are these the things that you
intentionally
want them to feel, think,
right,
believe?
Right.
That's our role. That's our role because
they will be now.
Right. The external programming, they're gonna get it. They watch cartoons, they go to the movies, they listen to music, right? Our program has to be something that sets them apart in this world that they live in. Right. They could be in it. The Bible said, what does it say, Pastor? Be ye in the world, but not of the world.
Of the world, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So they can be in it, but they have to shine a little bit different. And that light that we're placing in them is a light that will allow them to, just navigate a little bit different, not necessarily have a fear of the darkness, can walk and cut straight through it, knowing that they'll always be safe, Yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right?
Fear no.
So exactly. So how do you set them apart? By creating a consciousness of safety, by creating a consciousness to where they're, a safe mind is a mind that is creative at its best. When your mind is at ease, when your mind is not anxious, when your mind is not in turmoil, your decision making is way better.
Right.
So these are the things that I know they may not get in school. They may not get on the Sunday morning cartoons, they may not get on the anime stuff. And so that's our job, to create intentionality by our interactions with them, by the word choices we use with them, by the touches that we, embrace them with. All those things are a part of creating that level of consciousness, awareness of their mental, their emotional, their spiritual, to then find a alignment back to what that is. Right. We're going to veer off there are a bunch of different things that veer us to the left or to the right on a daily basis. How do we get back there? So how do we let them know, hey, this is how you get back to your center. This is how you get back to your mental, your spiritual, your emotional, your physical, how do you get back?
Right. That's good.
Find your way back. That's Beyonce, man. Beyonce said, find your way back. You watch Black is King? Have you seen that?
Never. No.
Okay. That's your homework. Watch Black is King. She said, find your way back. Daddy used to tell me how to whole song about it, man. Wait.
Wow.
Yeah. How do they navigate back?
No doubt. All right, let's get some of these comments. Richard says, DC or Marvel, man.
Oh man, don't make me do it, man. Don't make me do it.
Do it.
Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it, man. I can't. I love them both, man. I was pit between the two in high school, and we have fights, man.
You're taking you back.
Right.
Trauma.
You said Batman or X-Men Wolverine. Don't make me do it, man. Come on, man. I can't do it, man. Both are great in their own right. I'm gonna always be a Batman fan because he's a real person.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
In the fictional world.
In the fictional world. Well, no, he's right. He's more like relatable. Like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. He can take some punches.
Yeah, right.
He can take a couple licks right there. So
okay. So Jeff said, I actually wrote letters to my kids years ago. That's awesome. Richard said, I wrote a letter to my departed father and read it to him.
That's beautiful.
He also said, not depressed anymore, but like I said, I have anxiety and panic disorder, but manage well and non-medicated. Then there's my autism. Okay. Gotcha. Question said, what are Pastor Brian McCrory Sr. rules according to the Book of Brian? A book of Brian. That should be like your legacy right there. The book.
Listen, I'm getting 4 copies already in my mind. I'm getting them signed already. Like, yo, son, you get this book. What?
Right. Oh man. So what's your thoughts, passed on that.
No, I agree with everything that Matt was saying. I think that, I'm going back to your earlier comment about the cadence with your affirmation for your son. I think all those affirmations should be taught with a cadence.
Right.
Nursery rhymes. That's how we are taught as young children. And so I remember that stuff growing up. And so I instilled that into my children. My wife and I did that. And it's how we hold on to things. And I love that. I love the fact that you do that, man, because they do carry it with them.
Right.
I think back to, I won't go into all of them, but my mom had a lot of them. My mom was an early childhood education major. So we had it all. We had the records that played.
Oh, man.
All of that, But then you had Schoolhouse Rock on Saturday morning. You had all that stuff. And so that was good. But I think that when we talk about and AD, look, my children have access to my phone now.
Right. Wow.
They always have. Everybody knows my password. They can get in there and no, don't be searching through my phone. But I've never always,
I'm looking.
It's not like one of those things where get my phone. It's on Daddy's phone, or something.
Right. That's good.
But we also have joint groups. Whatever messages I send to the family.
Yeah. We just started ours.
Been doing that. And so I think that's important. Everybody's on the same page. Everyone's with one accord, including, mom and dad. Everybody hears what everybody's saying. And so I think those things are critical. But don't get it twisted. You still have to have one-on-one relationships with your children.
Right.
But I think, introspection, you have to encourage young people to introspect, to reflect on their thoughts, to reflect on your feelings. Matt was talking about that. We have to be able to feel and understand why we're acting the way that we're acting. Encourage young people to set aside time for that, to deal with self. You've got to be able to deal with yourself and then talk about it. Give them honest feedback. It's got to be constructive, but it has to be truth. I'd rather you deal with the truth today so that you'll understand how to fight the lies tomorrow. They need to understand, because we lie to ourselves.
Right.
So if I don't have anyone giving me truth about me, and I'm not saying I'm telling you who you are, what I'm saying is we have to talk about what you are presenting, the truth about what you're presenting. I think those things are always critical. So giving constructive feedback to our young children so that they understand how their behavior and their actions are received or perceived by other people, and they can't be afraid to look for that feedback. I think that empathy is a very, very critical word when it comes to this next generation, because it's amazing how desensitized young people can be, but how sensitive at the same time they are. So I think that having an empathetic approach to them is conducive to the growth. Help them understand how to put themselves in other people's shoes.
Right. That's beautiful.
Consider how your actions, how your words impact other people. You may feel good saying it, but could you receive what you're putting out? Those types of things. And so I think promoting empathy is critical to the next generation. I think, not just thinking, but critical thinking. Matt, you talk about that all the time. We did a whole class on the science of the mind. You have to foster critical thinking, encourage young people to think critically about what they're putting in, what they're taking in, what they're consuming. All of that stuff is critical because there's so much information out there. Our generations coming up are so dangerous because they've got so much access to so much new information. It's great to have it, but man, it's so dangerous because there's a sense of empowerment, invincibility that you have, and you have it in your head, but you're not prepared for what's coming in this world. So I think that critical thinking is something that has to be encouraged. Question your assumptions, challenge your biases, all that stuff.
So I got a question. So speaking of like the next generation, a lot of information, how like one of the best worst things that we ever discovered was like WebMD. So anytime you see a spot on your finger, like, what does that spot on my finger mean?
I'm dying.
And maybe you look it up, it's anywhere between a mole and cancer. Like, you know, he's just like, what is going on? Okay, I got this itch. Let me find out why my back of my hand is itching. You know, they're like, you got leprosy. You know, you're like, what? You know, so with our children having this kind of access, and you know, we've seen enough like mental health videos, personal videos, and things of that nature, and the self-diagnosis of, you know, what they feel. Because I watched the video, I feel the same thing, you know, like, but you don't know the whole backstory. Like, I went through some tests, I did, you know, but this is what I'm dealing with. How do we counteract, you know, that level of influence? Is there a way that you feel a way to counteract that level of influence?
Yeah, of course. You know, I think it starts with just managing the level of consumption that this generation is taking in. You know, it is a very high-paced, fast-paced consumer, you know, readily microwave, whatever you want to call it, generation. And so information is always there. You know, one of the things that I wish, you know, that I had more of from the previous generation is their knowledge of herbs and, you know, and natural medicine. You know, my grandfather was a farmer. He knew everything about everything.
Right.
My dad still has a lot of that information, but he never disseminated it to us as his kids. He never really gave us, you know, that tour of the outside. Be like, hey, that's good for this. If you ever feel that, use this, you know. And so my job now is to make sure that, you know, I learn that on my own accord, and make sure that a lot of what I can give is the direction to where they can get remedies without creating anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, illness is a part of the wave that we go in. We go in flux. And so it's not a good or bad thing. It's a level of how you're conscious towards when you're getting ill, what's causing you to be ill, and then what is necessary to get out of it. You know, listen, man, this is a great example because, like I said, I just came from Haiti. Being there, your consciousness has to be heightened. So I was aware of the things I ate, the which water I drank, who I ate food from, all these things. And then I did great over there. But guess what? I got back to Fort Lauderdale, you know, waiting for my flight to fly back to Atlanta. And my conscience was telling me, don't eat at this restaurant. Right? I promise you, my conscience was like, go somewhere else, anywhere else. I'm like, but I'm tired. And it's Bahamian food. I want to try some Bahamian. Yeah, man. I sat at that restaurant, ate that entire food, and I was jacked up. You know, meaning my consciousness, you know, that I actually listened to when I was in Haiti. I was like, you know, don't do this. I was like, okay, I won't do it. I got here, it went out the window. I got lazy, you know. Seriously. And
it's amazing how that can happen.
Okay.
Right? That goes back to the so much structure in dysfunction.
Right.
You can go overseas, go across the water, and be. I mean, when I was in the DR, it's just the other side of the island.
Right.
Like if they don't open the bottle at your table, don't drink it.
Exactly. Right.
That's just the way that it is.
And so, you know, I remembered all those rules, but like I said, I got here and I got lazy, man. I wouldn't listen to my consciousness. Swallowed that chicken. I was gone for a week, man.
Because you don't expect that to happen here.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, how is human nature different here than over there? Right. Because we're caught up in the structure. We're caught up in the rules, and we forget not everybody obeys the rules.
Right.
Rule number one:
wash their hands when they go to the bathroom.
Right.
Not everybody thoroughly washes the chicken. Not everybody separates the
we're all
chicken
looking at the same rules, though.
Yeah,
you know,
people wipe countertops and stuff. Everybody's not wearing gloves. Although the rules are right there.
right there. You know, and so I had to, in a sense, now, you know, pardon myself for not paying attention to what my consciousness was telling me. You know,
right.
And so what it is that to say that I have to make sure that my awareness and teaching my kids how to become more conscious, how to become more self-aware, has to start with me. Like, what am I doing on a regular basis? And then, by the way, they are watching us. So without us giving them instructions, they're taking great notes.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how dad does that? Okay, let me go ahead and make a note of that.
Right.
My kid said to me the other day, is like, Dad, it seems like you never meet strangers. You know, that's an awareness. They pay attention to that. They say, Dad, it seems like you never meet a stranger. You speak to everyone. You're kind to everyone. You're always smiling at people. You know, that's a consciousness. That's an awareness. You know, they're seeing how my interaction with my own mental, emotional state reflects in the social settings of being at Publix, you know, at the park, you know.
Right.
And so they're taking notes, but they're also seeing that, you know, there are certain people Dad don't speak to, you know, like there's certain places Dad don't go to, you know.
We don't go, right?
I'm gonna go this way, you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
And so,
Well,
you
we're
know,
going this way. We go this way. Right. That's good.
You know, so they're always learning, you know. So my awareness and how I represent, you know, how I speak, how my thoughts are, where my emotions are, where's my spiritual guide, are things that I have to be intentional, but also know that they're looking without me being intentional.
Right.
And they're taking great notes.
Right.
Great
how you react to
notes.
things.
By the way, and it's not, you know, I don't know if I add this earlier, but it's not just their brain that's taking notes, right? Not just their brain, you know, your whole body's recording it. The full body's recording some of these moments, you know. That's how trauma begins. You know, trauma is not just a brain issue. Your skin reacts, you know, your skin reacts, your blood starts moving, you know, everything reacts based on the level of, you know, influence, you know, the stimulus, whatever the stimulus is, we got to pay attention to it, you know. And so I have to pay attention to how they're aware of how things influence them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not, you know, sometimes they're not. I always, well, at least I try to, when they're watching a show and everybody's speaking at a very high pitch, screaming. I'm like, I was like, do you know that that's putting a seed in your brain to react in a specific way when situations come up? Then you're going to mimic what you've seen, how other people have, you know, reacted to these situations, and then you create that as a normalcy to how we should react.
Right.
Yeah. And they'd be like, we didn't know that. And I'd be like, okay, now you know. Pay attention. Pay attention, you know.
Right.
And now
and that, you know, mimicking other people's behavior, you know, that goes back to giving constructive feedback, you know, and being comfortable in your own skin. You know, what is it costing you to mimic someone else? Right. What is it costing you emotionally to act the way someone else is acting? Is it costing you too much? Why are you working so hard to be something that you're not? You teach your young people, teach your children to be comfortable in their own skin so that they're not following, you know, it's great to be a follower, but you know, you don't want to be that one that has an identity crisis because you've been so busy trying to be, you know, like the person who's popular in school or the funny person, and you don't have any jokes. And it's interesting how that dynamic happens. And that's a lot of what happens in middle school. That's why middle school is so brutal, because their minds are being all these characters out, see which one fits. And middle school is brutal, brutal, because they learn how to speak, you know, they
learn how to speak. Okay. Is it me? Okay.
Nah, that's not you.
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Froze up, Pastor. I think if you see us talking over you, it's because you froze up on our end. All right.
Right.
Oh, you froze.
I thought it was me too.
Yeah. Right now, no, you good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah.
You're good.
That's that Spectrum again. Brought to you by
Spectrum.
Okay, he's back. He's back.
You're back. We see you moving around now.
Yeah. Yeah, you had some time where you cut out a little.
I heard you thinking like, is it me? Nope, it's him because we're both still here.
Oh, you saw that part. Okay.
Yeah,
because you froze, and then and you probably started spinning the spin. Let's get not sure what this question, but let's see. Do you think Hollywood and media are capable of desensitizing the next generation.
A lot of factors contribute to desensitizing the next generation. There are a lot of factors at play.
Right.
Home life.
Yeah.
How Matt alluded to it earlier. A lot of our mannerisms we get from our elders. What happened during the drug game in the 80s?
Right.
What happened to when drugs were introduced? Remember hip hop was against drugs. You remember when all the music was against drugs?
Against the anti-drug.
Self-destruction.
Yeah.
For self-destruction.
Right.
And then it became selling drugs.
Right.
And then it became popping moms.
Doing drugs.
Doing drugs. Like, I didn't think we were gonna get there though. Doing drugs.
But the thing is, no one stopped it or redirected it when we started talking about selling drugs.
Right. True. You're right. Yeah.
We get it from our communities, as well as social media, as well as the movies and all of that. Life imitating art imitating life. All of that stuff happens. It's all a part of the programming that we were talking about earlier.
I have a question. Do you think that there's a music genre that doesn't reflect trauma?
Do I think there's a music genre that doesn't reflect trauma?
Meaning wasn't birthed from a traumatic space, from a traumatic generation, from a generation that wasn't dealing with trauma at that. Okay.
No, I don't. I think because music is feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so with that said, think about this, right? Yeah. We're talking about creating self-awareness for the next generation.
Right.
How do we prepare our kids, their kids, the next generation, to be the producers of music that doesn't reflect the traumatic experiences of their parents, their grandparents, and so forth? What would music sound like when it's not coming from a place of trauma, of hurt, of anger, of sadness? What would that sound like?
That goes back to the earlier statements about teaching young people to reflect on their thoughts. Consider their feelings, consider your actions, that empathetic approach, understand how this might impact someone else. A lot of people can hear themselves talking, but they don't know how they sound is a Brian, the book of Brian.
Okay, let's go.
I say this to people all the time. You may know, we love the sound of our voice. We love to hear ourselves talking, but we don't know how we sound. You don't know how your words, your expression is impacting the person on the other side of the conversation.
Right.
So you have to take that into account. So when you're developing or creating music, it's great to put it, how does it sound?
Right.
And that's what we have to think about. And if we can teach young people to consider those things, there's going to be a healthy mixture of art and creativity and music. Right.
Yeah.
But when you're desensitized, and your words it doesn't matter how people feel. I can say what I want to say. I'm a grown man. I'm a grown woman. You can't tell me nothing. I'm my own person. That kind of stuff. That leads down a negative path, a toxic path.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we don't have the music that we have now, or we've been listening to over the generations hasn't been influential on our mental and emotional state in a positive way. It's not to say that at all. Right. It's to say, can music come from a space that is different from where it's, where it's been birthed from the past?
Right.
I don't know. 400 years.
Throw that number out there.
500 years, and honestly, I want to learn this because I'm a huge fan of music. Right. Just listen to some of the things that have been said over the years. Like when I think about rock and roll, right? Rock and roll was a rebellious, genre. Came out like, nope, we're not gonna take it. Disco, same thing. Disco had its spin, a lot of, and so I want to know what it would sound like to just feel not threatened, I was joking with my brother when I went to Haiti. He's a guy who's a little different from me. I like to say we're yang and yin, yin and yang, yang and yin, right?
Right.
But of the same cloth. And I told him, you know how I pick my beats. You know, the beats I rap to. I pick out my beats by listening to them and making sure that you can't fight to it.
Okay. Okay.
As simple as that,
Okay.
right? Like,
okay.
So
you giving consideration to how this sounds to
Right.
someone else.
right. You know, I want to make sure that it's not the first beat you hear. You be like, oh, I want to punch somebody in the face with this one. You know, like, oh, I'm about to, you know.
Right.
You know,
I got
it gives off a different frequency, and that's just a consciousness that I have, right? And that's the hope that maybe one day the frequency will be something that's more popular. Right now, we want music to move us in a specific way, and those movement is a medication to release something or to attain something. You know, either we're running away from something or we're running towards something. You know, and I think sometimes on both ends we're not necessarily conscious of it. We put it on and it just happens automatically. You know, you ever put a beat on before they say any words, you're like, oh, let's go, yeah, right? You don't know what's happening in you, right? Look, see, you're because you know it's true. You know it's true, right?
No, it is.
So
the neck hurt. Oh,
you know, and so we have to think sometimes. What are we influencing kids, parents, adults to feel? Like, what are we influencing them to think? How are we influencing them to respond? You know, that's the awareness. You know, how did this make you feel? Think, you know, interact. You know, move forward, plan for the future, you know? So yeah, and I think this is a start, man. Great conversation. Great topic, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. It helps a lot with shaping these kind of conversations. Queen, I'm going slightly mad. It's a great song. It's going slightly mad. We said great song. Pause on that one. Yeah, I mean that's real though. I never that's an interesting thought, man. Like
now you're aware. You're gonna be in your car and be like, hey, wait a minute. Why am I moving so?
Nah. I mean, you're right though, because hip hop was. If you think
I
about
learned that a long time ago, man. You know,
drama,
you go to a movie theater,
right?
Yeah,
and go see a martial arts movie. Bruce Lee.
Oh man, I'm coming out.
Yeah, everybody think, you know, I'm from the Shaolin Temple. I can beat anybody. You know, that's how it was, man. You know, you listen to love songs and you're in love as long as the music is playing.
Right. True.
Right.
You know,
but then when you said trauma, I almost said R&B, but then I was like, no, yeah, they was hurt. It was trauma.
Listen, if you think you're lonely now, if you think you're lonely now,
if you think you're
go ahead and wait till tonight, right? You know, so man,
I asked you to turn the lights off. Turn them off.
Right. Light that candle.
Right. Light a candle. He didn't say he was lighting the candle. He said, you light that candle.
Oh man.
Damn.
Yeah, man. So it will be interesting, you know, and I pray that I'm around to get a glimpse of it, you know, just to get a glimpse of, you know, what comes out from, you know, us preparing the generations ahead of us, you know, in a different way, you know.
There's a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do, and I'm here for it. I just, you know, for me, I want men to be men. I want women to be women.
Right.
And like they say today, that's on period.
He's gone.
Oh man, I never thought I'd be the age where I'm trying to slang something, be like, yeah, am I saying that right? Is that in the right context? Like, I'm just not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
Right.
Okay. Not gonna. Let's see. All right, you guys make sure you follow Matt Jeanius on all social media. Make sure you are checking out Matt Jeanius. Go to Apple Music or purchase some of Matt Jeanius' songs. He's building a pretty incredible library, no doubt. So I'm excited, therapist, rapper, doing some amazing things. So appreciate him coming on Wednesdays to kind of share some of his knowledge. Sorry guys. I don't know if you can hear it. I guess it's loud for me. I was looking.
How old are you, Matt?
42.
42, which means he's got a lot of life ahead of him in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Y'all need to get on this bandwagon now, because there are a lot of miles in front of this young man. And so connect with him now, follow him now, so that you can watch and observe and be able to say, I was there from the beginning.
I appreciate that. I received that.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be in the background, in the back when you get his Grammy, like, oh, we did it. They've never been in the studio.
Man, listen, we did. This is all of us, man. The way we speak now will be the future that we live in tomorrow. Right. So I appreciate all the kind words, all the support, 100%. Mentally, emotional, all of it. I receive it. I've already been practicing my Grammy speech.
Right.
You Grammy?
I've been practicing it, man. My first words
like you have to be the person that, you're standing in the crowd and he's up there and you make eye contact with him and he stops what he's doing, breaks through the crowd to come and greet you.
Right.
Yes. That's the connection that you want to be able to have with people that are doing great things.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Changing the waves, man. One word at a time.
One word at a time. Nice. All right. So we appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. Another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. Again, make sure you follow Matt Jeanius on all spaces. As always, we will be here tomorrow, same time, same channel. And make sure you're sharing. Sharing is caring. And if you missed any episode, make sure you check out the podcast, as well as if you want to share the podcast as well. We're actually doing, if you go breaking news. Share the podcast. Breaking news. Share the podcast. So I guess that was a question, Richard. Yes, early hip hop, we talked about you when you did drugs. You got talked about when you did drugs. Yeah. It wasn't cool. We clowned you when you did drugs, but
it wasn't good. It wasn't good to be skinny back then.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. Got called all kinds of names. Wasn't cool. All right, so we appreciate you guys. Make sure you share 988. If you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis, make sure you dial 988. Drive safe. Read the signs. Breaking news. Know that we love you.
I'm playing you out, man. I'm playing you out.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, hold on. I'm peacing out, but I didn't click the thing. There we go. We out. Peace out.
I'm playing you out, man.